Hey, everybody. In today's episode, it's myself, Ben, and a young man by the name of Daniel. Daniel, we know very well. He does, in fact, work in the field. He works at a treatment center called Reprieve, and it is local here in Palm Beach County, Florida, where we are. Great program. Daniel comes on the show to discuss his own sobriety. He's just over 6 years sober. Now, he did not get sober on his first try. We go into detail about that, what it finally took for him to finally get sober. We talk about his hyper awareness of religion kept him from getting sober, and how just spirituality in general, he had to develop a new concept of a higher power, or a deeper concept of a higher power. We talk about treatment standards. What does good treatment look like? And man, we talk about a ton of things. We talk about he's now newly engaged and about to get married, and his fiance's in recovery. So we talked about that. Do they meddle in each other's programs? I think you'd be shocked by this answer, but we cover all that and more. Enjoy the show. Here we are, Real Recovery Talk. I am your host, Tom Conrad. In today's episode, we've got Benjamin B.
What's happening, everyone?
And we have a young man by the name of Daniel. Daniel, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Good, thank you. First things first, thank you for tuning in on the podcast app, whichever one that you choose to use. And thank you for watching on YouTube. In the end, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you could always reach us, info@realrecoverytalk.com. Again, that's info@realrecoverytalk.com, and ultimately we want to help you turn your mess into your message, right, peeps?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
All right. Also, go to realrecoverytalk.com. On the homepage, you're going to see a little link. It says schedule a call. All you have to do is click that. Click that link, and you're going to get a free, I emphasize free, 10-minute consultation call with either myself, Ben, or Dr. Tambini. All you have to do is schedule the call, and we will make sure that we get in contact with you, and you can go over your specific situation with us and see if we can assist you in any sort of way. Also, go to realrecoverytalk.com/guides, GUIDES. There you're going to find a catalog of guides that we have handcrafted ourselves, and you can print them out. You can download them. But the key is that you actually have to read them and do what it says. They're like assessments, and they're really good. It's good information for you to have. And once you do that, then you can go back to the homepage and hit schedule a call, and we can go over that assessment with you and see if we can help you in any sort of way. Also, go to Facebook. Ben, what is on Facebook?
The Sobriety Network.
The Sobriety Network. It's our Facebook group. Just go there. Click join. You have to answer a couple of questions. You put your email address in, and you put like why you're here, and we will let you in. It's a town hall, if you will, for addiction. Whether you are in recovery yourself or you need to be in recovery, we want you in there. If you're a family member or a loved one and you have somebody in your life that struggles with addiction, go to the Sobriety Network and come in there. A lot of us are in recovery. The three of us here are in the Sobriety Network, and any questions that you have, rest assured they will get answered there. So make sure to go there, Facebook, to the Sobriety Network. Last but not least, go to realrecoverytalk.com/services, and there, if you would like to schedule a 1-hour call with either myself, Ben, or Tambini, go to realrecoverytalk.com/services. Pick which one of us you would like to speak to, make payment, schedule the call, and you have us for an hour, undivided attention. We could talk about whatever the hell you want. That's it. How we doing, boys?
Good, dude.
Doing well.
Can I take 2 seconds?
Sure.
I just want to mention this. I want to give a shout out. I'm going to leave this anonymous because I don't know what
We've
what
already shouted them out once.
I know, but I'm
No, I know. I'm but saying I don't know if you need to do it anonymously because
I think I should do this one anonymously. I didn't let you read it yet.
Oh, okay.
So
All right.
the content of it, I believe it should be anonymous because in particular, I'll share why I think it should be anonymous. So this person, you know who you are. I'm giving you a shout out. Specifically, they referenced episode 367 where I talk about sexual abuse and all that stuff. And for lack of a better way to put it, in a sense, this individual kind of wrote a letter that's kind of like a fifth step. Said some stuff in here that never been said to another person ever.
Wow.
And, you know, was basically just saying because of what I shared on the podcast, they felt the courage to do the same, said that they feel like they know us personally.
Oh, sure.
And, you know, the funny thing is, there was something in particular that stuck out to me that says, I'm afraid to even share this because I'm afraid that you guys will judge me. Like, dude, that's how scary this stuff is. But at the end of the day, like, if you're an alcoholic junkie like we are, chances are, you know, we've all done things that we're ashamed of. We're taken to the grave, whatever the case is, man. But what's that little saying? Something about secrets and then safe spaces. I don't know.
Secrets keep you sick.
I don't know. Sure. I
Yeah,
just
I've heard
totally
that one.
butchered that, bro.
Yeah.
But point is, man, shout out to that individual. I really appreciate getting that feedback because for me, it makes me feel like I made a difference. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, that's good. We like getting these letters from people in prison. All right, here we are.
Beanie.
Daniel, thanks for coming on the show, dude. First
Of course.
question. What pants are those?
So these right here are Lulu Surge joggers. So
Can I turn you on to something else, perhaps?
Of course. What would you suggest?
Viore.
Oh, I heard that was actually really good, and I know they're at the mall in Palm Beach Gardens, but I haven't been yet.
Yep. I used to love Lululemon, but I can't fit into any of their clothes anymore for obvious reasons. But Viore's where it's at. I think you should ditch Lulu and go get you some clothes from Viore.
I love some Lulu, but I'm open to suggestions.
I'll tell you
I'm
what.
gonna
I'll
try
go
it
with
out.
you.
Okay,
I didn't realize there was a Viore store.
there is.
And I want to try something on, dude, because, like,
And you get a 40% discount, Ben.
I do?
Yep.
How?
I have my ways. You know me in networking,
Yes, I do.
right? So if you and
Then I'm definitely going with me.
yeah, yeah, because it ain't cheap. It ain't cheap. A pair of pants. These are Viore. These are about 120, but
Yeah.
with 40% discount, you know, you do the math.
And if I'm down to spend the money if they last.
Exactly.
Oh yeah,
I'll spend $100 on a pair of pants if they're going to last me 5 years.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, Viore, definitely go to Viore.com/ we're not sponsored. I'm just kidding. That would be fun though. Mind Pump's investors in Viore. So anyways, all right, here we are, Danny boy, Daniel, Danster. Where are you from?
I'm from Southern Virginia, very close to the North Carolina line. It's called Henry, but the local neighboring city, which is not really a city, it's really small in terms of population, is called Martinsville, Virginia. So we have a NASCAR track. If you ever heard of the Martinsville Speedway, and that's about it. But very rural area, very high unemployment rate.
Nice, good. Were you unemployed? You were part of the rate?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I was. I know you have to actively seek employment and then like answer one of those Gallup polls and tell them that you have not found a job to be included within that statistic. For me personally, I was there usually a student, so I don't know if I would have played a role in that particular like data set. But
Right. So how'd you find your way to Florida?
So Florida, I found my way to Florida. I'm the youngest of three. I have two older brothers. My middle brother also struggled with substances, and he ended up coming to Florida at some point and was able to be successful in a way that he wasn't successful prior. And then me dealing with my own personal struggles, whether they were legal, whether they were family issues, whether it was financial consequences, employment opportunities, every way that my addiction kind of manifested in my life and brought about consequences. I ended up going to several local treatment centers and resources in Virginia. And then one of these last times around, because I've actually came to Florida twice, so I've never used while in Florida. But one time I was in Florida for about 6 months, did all levels of care at this place called TTC back in the day, the treatment center. It was chaos.
up off
Lake
of
Worth Road, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went there, which was my first Florida treatment experience. So it was like mind blowing because before I went to these places back in Virginia, they did like a weird methadone taper, which was interesting. You didn't really go to outside meetings. They didn't even have like that much like food, kind of like they offered food, but you would get like one snack at night. So it was like literally just completely different. Then I ended up coming to treatment in Florida, and like my mind was blown. I was like taken to the beach. There was like massages included, like all this different stuff. And I was just like, this is the same insurance. Like nobody told me that I have access to this type of resource. So I kind of fell in love with the place. There was a lot of people there. I think it was like 130 at the time. And I did all levels of care. There was a really good clinical team there. I had a really good therapist. Did some EMDR, did all types of stuff, all levels of care, 6 months. And then I went home because I had to deal with a legal situation, which was part of the reason that drove me to treatment. And then I did not end up going to jail like I thought. And recently after that, I ended up relapsing and then went on another run for a while. And then I came back to Florida this most recent time.
What was your drug of choice?
So my drug of choice was like Oxy, Roxy's, we call them, Percocet, that, and weed. It was usually like opiates and weed. Like I went through my phases in college where I did hallucinogens, did a lot of like, I don't know, acid, shrooms, Molly, Coke, a lot of different things. But towards the end, what brought me to my knees was definitely like Oxy and marijuana, the combo, because I had times in my life where I was on drug court and I tried to get around drug tests. So usually I would do things that got out of my system quicker. So that would be like just the Oxys. And it was a completely different effect than Oxys and weed. So I needed them both to get like that's my sweet spot, what I was going for.
That's strange, dude, because when I do opiates, like I don't want to smoke weed.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah, so I don't know. A lot of people graduate from that, maybe because my relationship with substances started a little bit later. I didn't drink or do any type of illicit substance until I was in college. So probably like 18, 19, and then I fell in love pretty quickly, and my life started to have consequences literally within a few years. So maybe it's because I started a little bit later. I just never lost my love for like marijuana in addition to the substances I was doing. So I didn't have that experience of graduating. So
how old are you now?
Right now I'm 31.
And
so wake up, got back pain, can't remember things like I used to.
Oh shit! Don't
receding
even.
hairline.
Wait till you turn 40. Yeah, you're about to hit there.
Yeah, but you just got engaged.
I did just get engaged, so that's awesome.
Congrats.
That's a milestone. Recently got a house. There's a lot of miracles of sobriety, gifts of sobriety that have been present in my life.
And how long you been clean now?
So now it was 6 years in June. So it's whatever the math is. What are we now? October. It's like 6 years and 4 months.
That's awesome. And how old were you when you went to treatment the very first time?
The first time would have been treatment. Would have probably been, I think it was the second semester of my second year in college.
Did
so
you graduate
like
college?
20, yes, I did graduate, but it took me a while and I made it pretty difficult on myself.
What'd you graduate with?
So I have I went to University of Virginia. It's in Charlottesville, Virginia, beautiful area. I have a bachelor's degree in religious studies with a primary concentration in Christianity and a secondary concentration in Judaism. Then I have a minor in philosophy. Because I used to be really religious when I was younger, and I felt like I was going to do like full-time preaching ministry. So I felt called to do that at one point in my life.
Interesting.
I didn't see that coming, bro.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's dig into this a little bit.
Oh, here we go. Let's dig.
Go ahead.
We just covered. Did you release that episode yet?
Not yet.
We're like right prior to this, an episode's going to come out on religion and spirituality. We had somebody.
Oh, interesting.
We had somebody write in. It was a YouTube comment, a big thing about what they should do because they felt like religion was being pushed on them at their local AA meeting at the church and all that. Out of curiosity, I guess you'll probably go through it, but like, do you still feel the same, or have your views changed?
So let me just say this real quick as a disclaimer, because sometimes in AA meetings, I will share that I had a point in my life where I was really religious. And then somehow at the end of the meeting, that's like the only thing that people hear. So when they talk to me, they're like, I think it's cool that you kept the same faith and did all this throughout your addiction and recovery and things like that. So I would definitely say that my concept of a higher power is drastically changed than it was at that time. And I wouldn't necessarily identify with all the tenets of the Christian faith as strongly as I used to, although like I went to church the last 2 Sundays for the first time in a long time, and like if my spirit feels lighter, I think that's a beneficial thing. But just want to say that because some people kind of get caught up when I say that. But sorry, what was your question again?
Like how's it changed? You're answering it. Yeah.
So basically, I used to think, because I spent a lot of time in like scriptures and praying and things like that, I used to think somehow, because of the amount of time I was spending trying to interact with God, that I could have a better understanding with a higher power in a way that, looking back, kind of was like ego driven, or kind of glorified me and my ego, because it was like, because I prayed for this many hours today, I know God this much better than you, or because I can read this text in the original language, I can depict what this higher power looks like better than you. It was almost in a way that kind of drove me apart from other people in a way, and it started to become like a little bit of legalistic, like this is right, this is wrong, this is black, this is white. I'm 6 inches from God today, and a month ago I was 12 inches from God, and it was like I started to like lose sight of like why I kind of pursued that path, I guess. I don't even know if that makes sense.
Dude, to me, it makes a lot of sense. And honestly, it's a perfect follow-up, considering you didn't hear the conversation in the last episode, which was Tom, myself, and Destiny talking about it. But like, I think it's really cool as a follow-up, because this one will be released right after that. That's the last one we recorded, right?
I'm doing a little flipperoony.
Oh, he's doing a little flip-flop. All right. But either way.
This will have gone out. That episode will be not the previous episode, but the episode before.
So, but to have you come on as a third party that I've never heard your experience on that. I kind of like what you said about, you're in a meeting and you mentioned Christianity and you're like, that's all people heard.
Yeah, so it can build
why'd you
walls.
put emphasis on that? Yeah.
Just because I'll have people share, like, at a meeting after I say my story or something, and they'll, like, constantly say, like, oh, I go to church too, or I have faith in this higher power, and, like we know that, like, any concept of a higher power can be completely compatible with, like, AA. But there's people that it seems like the way they hear it, that they think that's solidifying their train of thought, that their higher power that they grew up with and believed as a young child is also going to help them stay sober. And like my experiences, my perception of that higher power drastically changed. So like, yes, maybe like this book that I read and these religious ceremonies that I attended, which started to like paint a picture of what God or what a higher power looks like, maybe that started to kind of get the ball rolling and get me to kind of understand that. When I got sober, the first few times when I relied on that concept of a higher power, it wasn't effective for me. I would still relapse. My cup wasn't full. I wasn't completely satisfied. So I had to I went through experiences that and was influenced by individuals and interacted with other sober people that started to kind of question the way that I viewed religion or God or whatever at that time. And like those struggles, when I really struggled with that and started to become more open-minded and a little bit more humble, I was able to have like a significant shift of perspective. So I guess that's what it is. Because if people are like, oh, you grew up with this God and you kept the same God and now you're sober with that God, it's like, well, my perception of God that I had growing up also led me to go to like jail a few times, several treatment centers, and sacrifice a lot of things in my life that were very important to me because I wasn't able to overcome my addiction with that concept of a higher power. So it wasn't until I endured certain types of life circumstances and events where I became broken enough, like the big book says, beaten into a state of reasonableness, where I was open-minded enough to be like, my understanding of a higher power is not sufficient to keep me sober, so I need to do some internal work or figure it out, if that makes sense.
There's a lot, bro. That was fire.
I'm clipping all that.
That was very good. I love that. There's a line in the big book that says, while his religious convictions were very good, they did not spell the necessary vital spiritual experience. And I've been very open about this. Like, dude, I consider myself more agnostic. I do believe in God. There's something, dude, I am.
Did you go to church this past Sunday, Ben?
I did not. I was going to go to church for the first time.
Oh, did you?
I ended up not going because I was going to bring the kids. Dude, I ain't been to church in
Me neither. I just recently went for 2 weeks in a row after like
Where'd
not
you go?
decades, but months. I went to, I have a brother, my brother and his fiance go to like the Christ Fellowship and Gardens. So I went there, and now like, so because I've had so much, like I literally studied biblical Hebrew for 2 years. I studied Koine Greek. So like I've done a lot of education with regard to like scripture and like the way they were influenced and the cultures at the time and how like Greco-Roman philosophy influenced this author to write in this way, like all this stuff. So I can be very hypercritical of a sermon, very hypercritical of, I used to play drums in a lot of different Christian fellowships, and I played music in churches, like went to these church camps all the time. So it's a big theme in my like younger years, in like, I don't know, middle school, high school, and early college. But now it's more simplified where like if I go to a religious service, it's kind of like the set aside prayer in AA. I don't try to get like super caught up into all the specifics of this preacher's preaching from this and it's this translation. It's more so just like my soul feels a little bit lighter, and that's cool.
Do you have the set aside prayer memorized?
No.
I'm gonna look it up, dude, because I actually just heard it read at a meeting on Sunday
set
night.
aside everything I think I know about my life, something AA. Yeah, I don't
What did you think of Christ Fellowship if you went 2 weeks in a row?
So it's I like the previous week there was this English girl that I guess mostly recently moved to the country to be like a staff member there, some type of pastor, because they have like several different whatever they call them, pastors, ministers, I don't know, but the people that preach a sermon. I feel like she had a good message, and then their worship's good. Like I have a lot of experience with like Christian music, so sometimes that could be an uplifting thing for me, even though I haven't like dabbled in it much recently. But I'll go through phases where I'm like, it's beneficial to like start my morning with that type of music, just because it tends to be like more upbeat, more positive, whatever the situation is. And then I went this last week just to kind of commit to myself and one of my sober friends that's recently became more open-minded to just trying out churches. So it's more so a commitment to like my brother and this particular friend to just try it out. But I do enjoy it. Like so where I'm from, the churches were a lot smaller. That's more like a mega church. Like the level of like detail and like branding and marketing and like the nature of the production it is very impressive. But at the same time, like some people can use that to downplay it. But like they also do a lot of good because they have so many people and they have such a big audience. Like if there's like an issue that happens with like hurricanes or whatever, like what we had recently with the tornadoes, they have like food trucks and like they show up like within hours with a bunch of people willing to help, which is cool.
So yeah,
so like goes both ways.
With all that, like, so I was going to go to Christ Fellowship because it's a half mile from my place. And let me say how this happened, because dude, I ain't been to church since I was like 10 years old.
Yeah.
Like, and my parents didn't even bring me a lot then. It was like maybe a handful of times a year, like that we'd randomly go to Sunday school or something. Yeah. But like, I have a 14-year-old and a 6-year-old. Randomly, I found out he didn't even really like intentionally disclose it to me. I figured it out and like started asking him during lunch on Tuesday and Thursday, because he just started high school. He's a freshman. There's this dude that plays receiver on the high school team that's already got offers to college.
Nice.
And he's like a sophomore or junior. But Weston's huge into football, so he looks up to this kid. And this kid actually started a Bible study on Tuesday and Thursdays during lunch. So Weston went and joined. So he's telling me about this. And then my 6-year-old Kai, all of a sudden he like one day just starts spouting off about all this stuff about Jesus. And I'm like, where are you getting this? And he had been watching YouTube videos about Jesus for like weeks. Oh. And then so like I'm like, so it didn't come from me. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I offered them this week, and I'm like, oh, if you guys want to go to church this week, I guess I'll go. But dude, where I was going with this, like the mega church thing, bro, I'm terrified. Tom was like kind of coaching me up on the phone, like, okay, go find the welcomers or
oh yeah, they have a lot.
The door people.
Well, so
I'm like, dude, I don't want to sway my arms and do a jig, and
you're not
terrified, bro.
Wave my arms and do a jig. You won't have to do that. So I met my wife at Christ Fellowship. She used to work
awesome.
there. Yeah. But I just simply said the welcome team. You walk in and you go up to them and say, hey, listen, I've never been here before and I don't know what to do.
It's
I don't know where to
the gills. They have it all. Like,
so I can't
sit in, where to park, everything.
So I can't slide in like an AA meeting, like back in the day where I was high and go sit in denial aisle and not talk to nobody. I'm gonna get ambushed, bro, by SEAL Team 6 of Christ Fellowship.
They're pretty good about it. I mean, I've been there enough. I've had different phases where I've went to different, like I went to their Boynton campus before some, and then the Palm Beach Gardens. But I mean, they're good about it.
If you ever want to play on their band, I got a good connection.
Do you?
Yeah.
All right.
Are you good at drums?
I used to play drums a lot. I'm pretty decent. I don't like now. I don't know, because that's a different level of production. I used to deal with like churches that had maybe like a few hundred. They got like thousands. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. So the guy that if you went this past Sunday, the worship leader Stephen, do you remember him?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good friend of mine.
Oh,
and
cool.
So he like heads up the whole worship department.
Okay.
Yeah. He's
sweet. I mean, I'll be down to hang. I mean, I can. Yeah, there's a few instruments I like to play, but drums is what I did mostly in like that type of environment.
I want to jump back on this because I like where this was going.
Oh,
we mentioned the set aside prayer.
Okay.
So
what is this? I don't even know what this is.
So once in a while in meetings, and my sponsor covered this with me too. When he first started sponsoring me, I had 3 years sober, And he made me say this prayer with him because at 3 years, like I had some knowledge, I'd been through some steps, but he wanted me to put that aside. And this is a set aside prayer. I had to look it up. God, today help me set aside everything I know about you, everything I think I know about myself, everything I think I know about others, and everything I think I know about my own recovery, so I may have an open mind and new experience with all these things. Please help me see the truth. So like to Daniel's point, he had the way that he was raised and recognized that for whatever reason, that wasn't working.
Yeah.
And you didn't completely skew away from it, but you either sprinkled something in or did something, that clearly works today.
Why didn't you read that on our religious episode?
I didn't, because Daniel didn't bring it up.
Yeah, I didn't bring it. I just thought about it now because in terms of, I related it to my experience with church sometimes because I'll be so critical because it's the same thing though. It's like that's what can make it ego driven and can build walls. Even like my AA program at times, I'll be like for example, I was like 4 months sober. This is the first time in Florida. I was at a sober living and I'm trying to do everything to the best of my ability and be the most sober and write on my inventory for the longest and meditate the longest, whatever the situation is. And I was in a sober living in West Palm and I was just on a meditation. I was like legit at meditating and I did it like every day for at least like 5 to 10 minutes, nothing crazy. But then like one of my roommates like comes in who's like struggling bad. And he's like, hey man, I'm struggling with blah, blah, blah. And I'm like upset. Like, bro, you just interrupted my meditation. Like, who do you think you are? I'm so close to God. I'm working the strongest recovery program ever. And then, so that's the thing. Sometimes like sometimes like you can, a certain like perspective or picture of like who God is or who this higher power is can sometimes build walls, especially when it starts to be ego driven where I'm like, oh, I have to pray for an hour a day to stay sober. And then it's like, my higher power just introduced an opportunity for me to impact somebody's lives and help them in a positive way. But I'm so stuck in like a particular checklist or whatever I think I need to do to stay sober that I missed the opportunity. So I feel like that sometimes that can happen with like church too. Because
very well put, dude.
I mean, that's like fanatical, and we talked about this in the episode, which I think it's going to end up being 437 will be the episode. So make sure you go back and check out 437. But that's one of the issues that I see inside of AA is, and I think it happens more with Christianity, honestly. Like, it's really hard for Christians to kind of waver from the idea that it is possible to get sober without being a Christian.
Yeah.
Like I was a part of a group that would flat out tell you, unless you find the Lord, this is pretty much all for nothing. And I had a real hard time wrapping my head around that as a Christian. I'm like, wait a second, this doesn't make sense. This is the message that we're putting out there. Is that, you need to go get baptized and, do all the things that Christians do, or else you can't get sober. Like I didn't believe that, but that was the image, that was the experience that I was having at that time. And I ended up getting my year medallion from this group and never went back just because I didn't agree with the message. That's one of my biggest gripes about, the whole higher power concept inside of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's whatever the hell you want it to be. Outside of, like I always say, the example of a light bulb, which the very first person I ever heard talk about this, Johnny Egan.
He's the man.
It's right when I got my job at Palm Beach Institute. I had a year sober. And he was running a group and he was talking about higher power, blah, blah, blah. And he said the light bulb analogy, if you want your higher power to be a light bulb, that's totally fine. But what happens when I take the light bulb out and I throw it against a wall and it shatters to pieces? Now what? And that's kind of what's always stuck with me. Like, your higher power needs to be something outside of this world in a way. And I don't know, the the Christianity aspect, as a Christian myself, I think that we do a serious disservice, some, to newcomers, because in this YouTube comment was a very good example of that. This person's going into this meeting and essentially getting whacked over the head with a Bible.
Well, it comes back to attraction, not promotion.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like if you look at me talking about offering my kids to go to church, it's because I've been inspired by them.
Yeah.
That I even became open-minded. I'm like, and you never know where you're going to get your message from. Like, I never thought my 14-year-old and 6-year-old would be the one to make me say to myself, you guys want to go to church?
Yeah.
No, when people, as a drug addict, when somebody tells me what to do or pushes something on me, I'm like, bro, you want to get punched in the face?
Yeah.
Like, that's
well,
my
and
response.
I think that's something that, Ben, that doesn't, it's normally the opposite way.
Yeah.
And I think, like, you're normally the ones, like in my family, I'm going to my kids saying, hey, wake up, guys, or get up. We're going to church today. I don't want to go to church. Well, too bad. We're going. Here you have your 14 and 6-year-old that are, so like that's something I think you really have to listen to.
Check this out, though. If I'll refer back to the big book, in chapter 4, chapter the Gnostic, it talks about, like, I'm going to paraphrase, but basically, how would you explain God to a child? Right? It brings us back to this base elementary level of, like, if my 6-year-old came to me and said, Ben, how would you describe God? Whether I believe, don't believe, like, how would I try to say that to him? Like, love, service, be kind, like, keep it simple, so to speak.
That would probably be something really tough for you to do, huh?
What?
Daniel?
To think about what it...
Describe God. How would you describe God to a 6-year-old? And the reason I say that would be difficult for you is because of all the knowledge that you have from school.
Yeah. In my experience, like, I used to think I had a lot of different ways I could describe a glimpse of a higher power or something like that. And then throughout my experiences and my sobriety and my recovery program and everything like that, I more so just come to the conclusion that, like, a higher power is not me, and this higher power wants me to be sober. And that's, like, the building blocks. And then it can, like, manifest in anything that's not in my control. So, like, my thoughts, probably not God. What I think I need to do today, probably not God. If Ben says something, then that could be my higher power interacting with me. Or if there's, like, a person that comes across my path that I can have a conversation with, maybe God can show up in that. But I guess to a 6-year-old, I mean, yeah, I would say, I mean, I kind of like, he says, I guess, like, I kind of like some of the things that even, like, the big book says, like, roomy, all inclusive, never forbidding, like, those type of things when it depicts a higher power. Definitely, like, there's the element of love there. There's the element of grace there. But then it starts to get controversial when you think of, like, the element of, like, judgment, or there's an afterlife or things like that. So I don't know.
So I had a good question and I lost it. Damn it.
You can always come back to it.
Can
Can we switch directions?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, dude, I want to go back to, like, when I first met Daniel.
Let's do it.
Because, bro, honestly, sitting here with you, I see you at all kinds of events.
Yeah.
You work in the field. Tell them where you work real quick.
I work at a place where I got sober. It's called Reprieve Recovery Center.
Oh, you got sober?
You got sober there?
Yeah.
I didn't even know
I'm
that.
one of 14 alumni that work at Reprieve now. We love hiring alumni.
Wow. One of 14?
Yeah. We just
Damn.
hired somebody else. Maybe it's 13, but it's, like, definitely at least 13.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Because
How many
the
staff
program.
members do you guys have?
I mean, if you count the back end team and everything like that, somewhere in, like, the 20s, I would say. Probably somewhere, I mean, because you have housing staff 24/7. Then we have, like, 4 full-time clinicians, and we have, like, 1 part-time. Then we, not counting the facilitators and stuff, we count UR, billing, everything like that. It's probably, like, I want to say around, like, 25. I might be completely off. I think it's in the, like, mid-20s.
You don't know.
What's up with Rob? How many do y'all have?
17, right?
I don't know. Something like that. Yeah.
I think 17.
Yeah,
and I
we're-
think
we're
that
pretty
includes the
close.
back end.
We don't have
Okay.
24/7 tech staff though.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, what were you?
So anyway, I wanted to get into, like, what got you in the field. And I'll blow you up for a second, dude. In my opinion, Daniel was made for this job, dude. You have a gift for helping people. And I've been doing this for 12 years now. And in working with you, Bro, like I you know how it is. I touch hands with a lot of people that work in business development, admissions, all that stuff. And you could tell the people that are like, just send me an insurance card, dude.
Yeah.
And then they let go of it. Like there's no human being attached to it, just to be blunt. But in my first interactions with you, dude, like you can tell me, you call and give like a half-hour rant on everything we need to know about a client. Yeah. All the details. You basically give me their bio site.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, so the first day I meet Daniel, and this is what's cool about it, man, is like, and I just found out you're alumni of Reprieve, so that makes sense. But Jess from over there sent you over to Rock when you first started.
Yeah.
And you started in business development?
Yeah, so I started like right under a year sober. So at the time, just because of the way it is in that field, Chris was like, yeah, man, if someone like asks you how long you've been sober, just try to like change the subject because you're right a year. He's like, usually if people start out in this role, they at least probably like 2 to 3 years. But he's like, you're an alumni. We think you'll be good for this. So, but
they were right. You're good at it, dude.
And good for him for telling you to change the subject and it be 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because most people, I'll tell you off the camera. I found something out yesterday that is, you'll want to know.
All right.
Interesting.
Remind me to come.
For both of you. Yeah, both of you.
Both of us.
The skinny in the treatment industry. We could start a whole other podcast on that.
But anyway, dude, I remember because we were sitting down in the gym downstairs and you like, and who was I with? Was I with you? Someone was with us.
I don't know who we were with at the time, but it was somebody else. I don't know if it was Tom. I don't know.
I doubt it was me. I never, you know me, I never really partake in the business development stuff.
But you're brand new, dude. And what I loved is that I think you took the same journey as we did, where like you learned everything from scratch, dude, and the right way. And you put human beings first. And now people like in the industry, dude, everybody loves you. Your name comes up. I've never heard one single bad thing said about you or even questionable. Zero, nothing.
Well,
and that is not
one time.
We'll talk about that after.
And that's not the case in this field, dude. Like you hear trash sprinkled on everybody's name at some point. Yeah. Like, oh, they were skeezy in this situation. That. But bro, not once have I heard that.
I feel like that's why we get along. So I mean, I think that's a very high compliment, and I feel like the same way about like you guys and what you do over here at Rock.
Squeaky clean. But you came over like open and you're like, I want to learn this the right way and do the right things.
Help me.
Bro, it was awesome. Honestly, I was so impressed and knew that you were going to be good at this from the rip. And then again, going back to the fact like you get involved on a very personal level. Like I've heard you talk to parents. There's been situations where like, or you're like, Ben, you know, we've had situations where we've referred back and forth because someone's relapsed or something like that. And you'll put me in touch with parents, but you've linked us up to a point where like you're making the introduction, making sure everything's smooth. Again, it's not just a business transaction.
Yeah.
There's a human being involved and they're being handed over for care.
Yeah.
And that's, dude, it goes a long way in my book, real long way.
We literally deal with like you just talked about your kids. That's like the most precious thing that you have as a father is 2 kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's literally like what we deal with in this industry. It's not like we're selling cars or we're doing this. Like we're dealing with literally people's most prized possession out of anything. So obviously, if that's the case, like I want to do everything I can in my power to like do the due diligence necessary to like respect that and like provide them a service in such a way that like holds that in the highest regard, which I feel like you guys too. But sometimes it's crazy. We deal with this so much just to sit there and reflect. It's like even right now, you have a census of probably how many clients currently?
24, 23?
Something, yeah.
You have 24, 23 people in your care. Reprieve probably has like 36, 37 that are like literally like a moms, a dads, a wives, a husbands, literally their most prized possession, like in your care. So it is like a huge responsibility. And I think it's something that like you said, shouldn't be taken lightly. And
somebody did that for you.
Yeah.
You know, how did you end up at Reprieve?
So my brother, who I said came down here before me, he got sober and he knew Chris Cook through AA or meetings or whatever. And at the time, Chris was opening up like he dealt with sober livings for a while, but then he started a IOP program. And it was started June 1st, 2018. And my sobriety date's like 6/16. And I went to a detox for maybe like 2 to 3 weeks and then went there. But I think I was like the 30th client there. But I was literally there in like the first month when it first started. And back then, housing wasn't as nice, clinical wasn't as nice. Chris and his now wife Jess literally lived on property at the time.
Did
with like
they?
Yes, with like an open door policy. So you literally like go in there whenever and just like talk shit or try to like, we could like we'd play Chris in FIFA or whatever. It was a whole, it was a vibe at the time. But it was but Paul knew Chris and he was like, hey man, he's like, I know a guy, he just started like a IOP, he's a good dude, you can go to his program. Because at the time, like when I'm in active addiction, it's very hard to even like answer a call that for somebody that cares about me or has my best interest at heart. It's really hard to text them or anything. So at that time, my brother just randomly like reached out to me and was like, hey, if you're ready to do something, just like send me a picture of your insurance card.
See, bro, I love those stories, and I think that's the difference. I say this with a grain of salt because every type of treatment center has its fills a niche. Like
exactly.
But the thing that I love, like hearing right there, for instance, is like, you know, they lived on property.
Yeah.
And so you got two individuals that got into this for the recovery, were super involved in the trenches versus like some group of investors out in New York that say, hey man, I hear there's money to be made in treatment. How big of a facility can we get and how many people can we jam in there?
Right.
Yeah.
It's two totally different things. I'd rather have a situation like that. You said housing wasn't as nice, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I try to hit that home all the time. Like our stuff is nice.
Yeah.
But it's not Taj Mahal.
Yeah.
But it's very livable. It's clean. You know, I'd live there you know, but it's about the people, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what type of building you have. If it's run by people that are, dude, they don't care. They're detached from what this is actually about.
And that goes back to the beautiful thing of us having like so many alumni that work for us. Because already if you're an alumni, you take pride in the experience you had at Reprieve. So the way you deal with certain situations, the way you show up, like in our experience, it just helps foster like or like cultivate just this like beautiful culture. Cause like not only are people like showing up and doing their jobs and like we get the benefit of our type of work as we get to help people, but at the same time, they get to like literally like sit there with the client that lives at the same apartment they lived at and complain about the same chore that they complained about. You know, and then they're like, dude, I'm telling you, like, I literally was in that bed and complained about the same thing. And like, now this is what my life is today. So there's like, I don't know, there's something special about that.
So when you were on this journey of getting sober, and we only have a little bit of time left, but I wanted to ask you this before, what do you, when you look back on your sobriety experience, the past 6 years, what would you say is one of the biggest contributing factors to your sobriety and staying sober? Because you obviously have experience with relapse.
Yeah.
Looking at those 6 years, what would you attribute it to?
I mean, for me, it was actually continuing to progress with the step work with the sponsor. Because the one time previously when I was down in Florida, I did a 4th and 5th step, but I never made it amends. And that's when I started to like looking back, it was so obvious because I got to the point where I was supposed to make amends in the step work with the sponsor, right? And I was going home in like a month to deal with that legal situation. And in my mind, I was like, I don't have to make amends yet. I'll be home in a month and then I can make the amends. But as soon as that procrastination creeped in, I was done. Like looking back, I see it because like that, like even with all the clients I deal with now, but like, this is my personal experience, but like as soon as that sense of urgency leaves to like work a program of recovery and like continue to progress in step work, then in my experience, I'm like done. Like if they're like, you should take a sponsee and I'm like, I'll do a sponsee in like 2 months or whatever. It's like done. Cause like at that moment, when that procrastination strikes, that's when my disease is able to like get me to like other stuff. Like that time when I went home, so we have horses and stuff at home. So I went home and like one time after treatment, I don't remember when it was, but I was supposed to go to a meeting that night. I committed to doing a meeting in the first 24 hours like they recommend. But then I went home and like we have a horse farm with like 33 acres, like 13 horses, the whole thing. But I was like, my mom was like, you should feed the horses. I was like, oh yeah, like I need to show up for my mom. I need to feed the horses. This is important, like to be a son, blah, 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 blah. But my addiction uses that to be like, oh, I can go to a meeting tomorrow. And right when that happens, I'm done. Like as soon as that creeps in, but in my experience, it was just the simple suggestion when people said work steps with the sponsor, just to have the open-mindedness and a little bit more humility than I typically had because I got a lot of ego. So a little bit of humility and a little bit more open-mindedness to just take the suggestion people said of like, hey, get a sponsor and work steps and just continue to progress and kind of build that foundation like that. It's like my experience. Like, I don't think it's because I think there was times in recovery where I thought if I'm motivated 80% to get sober this time and I relapsed, I need to be 110% motivated to get sober the next time. But in my experience, it's not really like that. It's like my recovery program, it's like a few little things. Like I should have asked for help there, or I should have kept going with my step work there. In my experience, it's just like a few like little things as I got to learn about myself. Like if I can start to make these changes, then I'll be able to like maintain a program of recovery, if that makes sense. Because I used to think like, oh, when people are like, I was 100% about it, I was so motivated. Like even the first time in treatment, I called my parents and told them like where my weed was in a drawer and where some pills were. And like at that moment, I thought I was good. Like I'm calling my parents and telling them about my stash. I'm 100% going to stay sober for the rest of my life. Right? Like how could I ever have a stronger desire than at that moment to stay sober? And then literally like the day I got home, I ended up getting high because as soon as I get on a plane or go home or whatever, my disease will strike like in those moments. And I didn't work a program to build the defense I need to build for when that time comes. Or like as AA calls it, peculiar mental twist, blank spot, you know the deal, lack of proportion.
My man knows the big book, dude. I knew I loved you.
Dude, I'm telling you. I mean,
I don't even think I answered that directly. But basically just take the suggestion of working steps with the sponsor. That fucking simple. Oh, sorry. That's simple.
No, you're good.
You're good.
Yeah. I got a lot of nice little clips too out of
All
here.
right, cool.
Yeah. Well, and I like what you said, and people, I like to call that as super sober, you know, it's like, you know, Superman, you know, I'm super sober, look at me, you know, I'm doing everything right, preaching it from the hilltops. I got family members calling me about, this is my experience, my aunt calls me, she's like, hey, Tommy, I need your help. Your cousin, she's got a, and that feeds my ego. Like, yeah, look at me, you know, I'm sober. People are coming to me now, blah, 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 blah. And that's a tricky place to be because now I haven't ever relapsed. I lived through your experiences and your experiences. I mean, I've relapsed, but I never really was in recovery. You know what I mean? But, you know, that's an easy place for people to get into. It's either one of two things, if we really think about that. Either you're very extremely super sober and you know everything that you need to know about sobriety and you're going to be good for the rest of your life, or you're too smart for your own damn good and you poke holes in the whole entire process. This isn't a hard, complicated thing to do. You know, this whole recovery process, it really isn't if you think about it. You have a strong sense of community around you, you work some steps, and you help other people stay sober. That's it. Now, there's a lot of nuances and twists and turns and the ever-escaping landscape of addiction, Ben, you know? But it's not complicated.
Speaking of landscape, what made you decide to stay in Florida? How'd that come about? You like came back down for treatment a second time?
So at the time when I came down the most recent time, I was pretty broken. Like I burned the bridges with my family, I was basically like homeless at that time. Like before I came, I was like living out of a car that I had a title loan on, so that type of stuff. And I'm pretty soft, so I was only able to do that for like a few days. Anyway, and then I ran out of money to like buy drugs and stuff. So then I came down here and I basically I built up like a community of people, and that was like when people talk about living in different areas, there's like a bunch of cool things about different areas, I guess. I've lived in several places and like I can see the pros and cons of them all. But the support network I had in that community and my other friends I got sober with and that I walked this thing like shoulder to shoulder with, like that's like what made Florida so special. And then also I didn't really have that many options. But I'm very glad, like today, that's what it is. Like I have a whole squad of people down here that like care about me unconditionally. Like I can call them, I can get support. They'll hold me accountable. They'll speak truth, whatever the situation is. And like that type of relationship's a beautiful thing. And that's like an awesome byproduct of like working a program of recovery, is because you get to like have interactions and friendships and relationships with these people on like a real deep, like meaningful level. And like people that kind of can relate to like the little things that I see joy in today because they've been through the same darkness that I've been through in my journey, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not in jail today. That's awesome. A normal person doesn't care. They're like, yeah, wow, buddy, you're not in jail. I'm like, I paid my rent this month. Let's go. They're like, everybody pays rent every month, you know? But I'm with a squad of people that are like, bro, you're not in jail. Let's go. You're killing it.
And now you have a house.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm paying a mortgage.
Where'd you get a house at?
It's in West Boynton. It's like Boynton Beach and Jog.
What the hell is it with Boynton?
Bro, Boynton's great, dude.
Boynton's pretty cheap. I mean, yeah, it was.
At least it's West Boynton.
Yeah. And it was a very cheap HOA. It's like $104, which is for this area. I feel like, well, I'd prefer not to have HOA, but I don't have.
I would see you out somewhere by me, like out blocks of house.
I'm down. I would love to do that, but that's like That's
It
like the
is.
dream house goal. Right now, I'm like investment kind of house goal. Even though my fiance wants to do projects on it, like it's the dream house, but hopefully it's like
She wants to do. You talk very fast. She wants to do what? Progress.
She
what?
she wants to do projects on it, kind of like it is the dream house at times.
okay.
When I'm like, just chill. This
Is it like a
an asset.
townhome or what? Or a
No,
single
it's a
family?
house.
Single family home?
Yeah, 3
Nice.
bedroom, 2
When'd
bath.
you get it?
March of not this year, the last year.
Oh, cool.
So
Do you have any little ones coming or?
no, not at this time. I just got engaged like literally within the past month and a half. So now I'm engaged, and then I don't know. That's the next milestone, I guess. We got to like plan a wedding and figure that out.
Can I ask a personal question?
Of course, I feel like a lot of these are personal questions. We've been rolling with it from the jump.
Is she a normie or no?
Oh no, she's in recovery as well. She's been sober a lot longer than me. She's been sober twice as long as me. Actually, she's like 12 years.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Nice. How'd you meet her?
friend of friend. She knows my clinical director, my clinical director. One of her home groups or a meeting. That's how she knew her. And she said it was like literally, it was at a birthday party or something for her. They were eating dinner with people from the home group, and she was just going over like bad dating stories or something. And I was out in Georgia doing this thing with like dirt bikes. And then my clinical director literally just sent me a picture of her, and she's like, "You're going on a date with so-and-so." And then when we came back, we ended up going on a date, and it worked out.
No shit.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How is that? Like, do you guys get involved in each other's programs at all?
She works a much better program than me at this time. She's a lot more active in terms of regular meeting attendance, home group, sponsees, things like that.
Does she work in the field?
No.
Oh, okay.
She has like not directly, she has like her own business where she'll do different types of like marketing things, content creation, things like that. And some of her clients are in treatment, but she's not. Most of her work is outside of the space of treatment.
Oh, nice. Dirt bikes. Were you big into dirt bikes?
No, I mean, look, that was a really bad financial decision I made at one point. So I got like a new dirt bike because my boss and some other friends were riding dirt bikes a lot. He's still committed. My brother was committed until he got injured. He's fine now, but he had like a pretty bad injury due to dirt bikes. And I just wanted to like be a part of at that time. But I like took an installment loan to finance a brand new dirt bike. So that was a bad call. But it was fun while it lasted. I know
Chris is really into that.
Chris
dude.
is
I can
about
see
it,
why
yeah.
you would, you
Do
know.
you still have
yeah.
the dirt bike?
I do not have the dirt bike, no.
Yeah. I'm buying Levi a dirt bike for Christmas.
No,
Are
they're
you?
fun, and there's places
Yeah.
you can do it around here. Like there's options to do stuff with them.
Levi's been begging for a dirt bike. And,
Really?
yeah, I'm getting him a Yamaha TTR
Let's
50 or something.
I
It's
had a Husky.
huh?
I had a Husky, like a Husqvarna.
Oh, okay. 4-stroke.
Yeah, it was 4-stroke.
Yeah, this is a 4-stroke. No clutch. So it'll be good for him. He can
Yeah.
buzz it around.
We used to ride all types of stuff around like the farm growing up. Like where I'm from, there's like so many different trails you can ride on. They used to be like
Yeah.
fire trails and stuff back in the day, but you can ride like for a week straight and not be on the same trail.
Yeah, dude.
So that's what I was used to too. And down here it's a little bit different. You got to like pack the dirt bike up, and you have to like drive to a place to drive it, which isn't that inconvenient. It's just the way I grew up. It was so like I
right.
just walked
It's in your
outside and, like,
backyard. Yeah,
rip
that's
it.
how it was
Yeah.
for me too. You can get anywhere. Do you ever hear of the Hillsville Quarries?
Mm-mm.
It's one of the top 10 riding destinations in the United States. And I
Nice.
could get there from my backyard.
That's
it was
awesome.
but I was a 4-wheeler guy. Me and dirt bikes never got along.
Four-wheelers are fun too. They're all fun. Toys are all fun.
Yep. I had a Yamaha Raptor. I had a Banshee.
Oh, so you had the fat, like the racing ones, yeah.
Well, the Banshee was, and the Raptor was a 4-stroke, but then I went into more like mudding. So went to like
Yeah.
Grizzlies.
That's
and-
fun.
Yeah. But
I was never a motorsports guy.
no.
I grew up.
I mean, I wasn't motorsports. It was, keg beers and freaking, bonfires and mud
Yeah, we just
bogging.
used to mess around on trails. I didn't like compete or anything like that.
Nah.
But I have several people that I know that did. But
I'm excited for Levi. I think he'll like it.
Yeah, he's a madman.
I'm not doing it though. I'm not giving him the dirt bike until after gymnastics competition season's over. Because last year he broke his foot after the second competition, or third, or second.
Didn't he break his arm too?
He's broken so many bones.
Yeah,
that
dude.
was like us, dude, because I'm one of 3 guys. We're like all like the doctors at the ER and stuff just knew us all on a first name basis.
Yeah, me too. I was like, so it's beyond me why I'm buying him a dirt bike. I already know what this is going to entail, but he's a boy.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was fun, dude. Glad you came on. I feel like there's so much more we can talk about, but you'll just have to come back. Now your nerves are a little calm. See, it's not bad.
Yeah, see,
Yeah,
it
it's
wasn't-
not too
you
bad.
forgot
You're
the
not-
mic was there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You're not squirming around like a freaking, like you're tweaking.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Making my little, yeah.
No, you did good. Ben, any final thoughts?
Nah, man, I appreciate. We do need to get you back on because I feel like there's a lot we didn't cover.
Yeah.
But when good topics come up, I like just diving into them.
Yeah.
Of course.
All right, Daniel. Appreciate it, buddy.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, that is it for this episode of Real Recovery Talk. Thank you for tuning in. In the end, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you could always reach us, info@realrecoverytalk.com. Again, that's info@realrecoverytalk.com, and ultimately, we want to help you turn your mess into your message. That is it. We will see y'all later.